thanks again for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I know quarantine's been a little bit hectic, but we're making do. So please introduce yourselves and tell me what you do in the band and tell me a fun fact about you.
All right, I'll start. My name's Nick. I am the lead singer and guitarist in the band, and on the records I play synth and other stuff when that's needed. Yeah.
What's a fun fact about you, Nick?
Oh, fun fact. I am obsessed with video games, and it's been probably the only reason it's kept me sane through the quarantine. Yeah.
All right. I'm John Africano. I play the bass and I sing some backup vocals live. And fun fact about me is I love birds.
I'm Kristian. I'm newest member of the group. I'm the drummer. Fun fact about me, I don't know. I like to work out at the park, I guess.
Right.
So we have a cute little icebreaker that was asked at our freshman orientation that we ask everyone. If you could be any item in the kitchen, what would you be and why?
I feel like I'd be the blender because I'd see a lot of different things all the time and I make a lot of noise. I'm always the center of attention, right?
If I had to pick, I guess, when I cook, my favorite part is cutting, so I like to be a knife. Slice some things up.
No, I'm gonna say the fridge, because it's where all the food is most of the time.
At my orientation, I said I'd be a knife because I have a sharp wit.
Hey, nice.
My wit is dull like a fridge. There you go.
But he's cool. That's all that matters, right? He's cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So, how have you been spending your quarantine?
A lot of the quarantine has been in school, doing a lot of just a lot of schoolwork and work like that. I'm a film major, so a lot of the projects that were supposed to happen this semester just didn't. But I'm trying to make up the time doing other things, other projects, trying to do some outside work as much as possible, and obviously writing music is whenever I can get in the right mindset to do it.
I've been teaching guitar lessons through Google Duo and Skype. I work at a Home Depot, so I'm still going to work. And managing school is definitely a challenge, but it was something that took up 4 of the 7 days of the week. So I was doing that too.
For me, spend a lot of time with my parents, of course. So dinner time, we've been doing that regularly, watching a lot of Netflix with them. Try not to overeat. So between that and staying fit, getting in the park to work out. And I'm a real estate agent, so I've been really taking the time to just sit and learn about my company. So really those 3 things.
Nice. I know for me, as I said earlier, school was a big part of everything that was going on. And the other most of my time is probably spent, I go through Spotify for hours finding artists that I like to listen to, and it's been a great discovery period for me, and it's kind of led to I have bought about 12 vinyl records during this time.
Wow, very cool. Yeah.
So it's been a time. What music have you guys been listening to, if any?
I could say a lot of gospel. So I'm a pastor's kid, so we've been still having church virtually and everything. So I've been digging a lot to just a lot of the foundation gospel stuff, like 80s music, like Timothy Wright and the Walter Hawkins and his family. So I'll say mostly that during the quarantine.
So I've been more into, actually thanks to Nick, I've been listening to albums more. So I don't just listen to a song, I'll try to listen to an entire album. So I'm going back and looking at the artists that I already listened to and kind of seeing, oh, you know what else did they do? So I've checked out Nevermind, Nirvana, Nevermind. I like old stuff. I've checked out Insomniac by Green Day. Finally, only 25 years late. I even listened to the Marshall Mathers LP. And again, 20 years late. But, it's kind of cool going back and seeing what established the artists that I listen to. That's pretty much the music I've been doing.
I've been in such a weird place with music. I think just because of where the world's at right now, music feels weird to me. I don't know. I always feel like music, even the most depressing stuff, is this kind of weird catharsis thing that I don't feel like I've felt for a long time. So actually, I haven't been listening to as much music as I used to. But I'm really digging right now. It's pretty popular, but the 1975's new album. I don't know. I know a couple people have their dissenting opinions about that album, and I don't necessarily think it functions well as an album, but I think as a collection of songs, it's just so expertly put together. And then I have just a couple of other like soundtracks and general music that I had in my backlog. I have a summer playlist that I'm listening to that just like giving me optimism just in the distant future. But yeah, it's just kind of a random mix of things other than that.
Yeah, I've also been doing a lot of the albums in full. I haven't really had a chance to do that till now, and it's a different experience altogether to actually hear the tracks in the order they're supposed to be played in.
For sure, yeah, it's artist intent at the fullest degree, and it's interesting to see how they combine stuff like that.
I always love asking this question because it kind of helps me expand my own horizons sometimes of artists I should be listening to or checking out, and the way music kind of progresses, there's so much being released that sometimes hard to find sometimes those great songs always get overlooked by other things, so it's a nice way to look back on that. So my next question is very kind of related to this. I think this question says a lot about a person. What is your favorite album in your personal collection? And by personal collection, I mean you physically own it.
Interesting.
I know that one right off the bat. Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That album, yeah, Nick's laughing because he knows.
Yeah,
that album it's a masterpiece in my mind. It was the first album that I listened to all the way through and said, this is the way that Anthony Kiedis himself wanted this to be listened to. It's crazy. The first time I listened to it, like I don't know the songs on it yet. I was a song picker, like I pick one and be like, oh, I like that one, and then that one. But listening to it all the way through, I had no idea when the second song started. It was like a minute and a half in. I'm like, wait, what? When did that happen? And it's just such a surreal experience.
I'd say my favorite album I don't own physically, but I would say that my favorite one that I actually own physically is Ocean Eyes by Owl City. It's the album that Fireflies is on, which is the song that kind of inspired me to start songwriting in general. And it's such a weird one because Owl City can be a meme to some people if you don't, if you're on certain parts of the internet. But I love his lyric writing, and I love how he's able to frame something so simple and make it this very complex masterwork of melody and just kind of how he uses that. So yeah, that album is wildly entertaining for me, even a decade later.
It's hard for me to pick an album, but first thing that came to mind was Love Surreal by Bilal. He's a singer, and what I really like about all his albums, they all sound differently, so you could kind of tell he was going through different moments in different albums. But why specifically Love Surreal? I guess I could say because it carried me pretty much through high school. Like every year, it was just that album that just, I don't know, I just always found myself going to. It made me feel like wintertime. And I guess since that was like the biggest season we spent in high school, it just brings back those memories, I guess I could say. It's like when I listen to that album, I go through a time machine. So as well as the music being good, but I think specifically, like I literally feel like I'm in a time machine. I could relate so many parts of my life listening to that album.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel like the albums people pick kind of subconsciously represent them in a way, because it kind of, it's a way for people to have this personal connection to something tangible and physical, and at the same time it normally impacts so many different things for somebody. Like it was like a pivotal moment in their life, and that's why they have this connection to that album. So I always enjoy hearing what people say. So my next question for you is, can you please describe your sound for me in 3 words? You can each do 3 words, or you can each do 1.
Oh, interesting. I think we should each do 1 word because I think that's more fun. The word that I always say, and it's kind of a pun, kind of, but it is true, is that the music sounds dreamy. Just generally, I think that there's this kind of sweep-based aspect to the music that definitely exists. I don't know what else. What do you think, guys?
I would say versatile. So not like all this. Some songs could be similar, but it does give you like a different feel though.
For sure.
And like as far as the as far as like genre, not like saying, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like yeah. And you could tell, but it's still like, okay, there's different elements working within this sound.
Right. John?
You took dreamy. Let me see. Then what would I say? I would say I'd say different, because it's hard to describe. Like when people ask, like like people like that I work with, oh, you're in a band? What do you sound like? What genre do you play? And I'm like, well, here's the thing. like I don't really know. You just gotta listen to it. So like, besides the fact that it's dreamy, which another fun fact has nothing to do with the name. That was completely different than the fact that we were gonna make dreamy music. But I would just say it's different. It's not really like anything else. Like when I like I can't really relate Slumber to anything else that's out, because I just don't. It's just different.
Yeah, John knows this very well, that every time we've performed, we get a different thing that says like, oh, you guys sound like blank every single time. There's never been a repeat answer to that response. Like, and it's funny because I just, someone will come up to us and just like, wow, I really like this. It sounds like this thing that I listen to, and I almost have to write a list of all of them because I just don't know what the common factor is between all of them. But I like hearing it because it's interesting to see what people pick up from each of those artists.
Yeah, I like how you guys kind of branch across different genres. Like you're not confining yourselves to one specific thing, and it's kind of like experimental, like not experimental rock.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I guess that's the best word that I can currently think of, because you're like delving into different areas.
Then every song we try to say, okay, well, what if we do this harder? What if we pull back on this and do this as a ballad? So yeah, for sure. So
what is your writing process like?
Take it away, Nick.
Most of the songs I fully workshop as for as long as possible. I'll sit down and just kind of, if I'm feeling something, and I've said before that a lot of the songs that I write end up being written at a time of like what I'd consider like a turning point. So every time I write a song, it's like, okay, well, this is definitely a critical point where I'm going to change in the future. So I have to write about this moment, about what I've been experiencing or what is being experienced. But the actual writing process is just me with an acoustic guitar most of the time, even if the song is very like synth heavy and experimental, that kind of thing. It usually just starts with me and an acoustic guitar, maybe a piano, and just trying to plot out what does this song sound like, what do I want this song to sound like, and then bring it to the band and just be like, hey guys, all right, here's what we're gonna do. Let's roll with this. Let's try this. Let's see, and we'll change the key. We'll change the tempo. We're just gonna try as many options as possible until we get something that sounds like a song that we really enjoy. And then we just play it a bunch of times. I think that's the biggest part of the writing process for me, is actually playing it live. And just seeing what people think about it, not necessarily because I need people's approval on what a song sounds like, but more just, hey, do how does this sound? Do you like this? Am I crazy for thinking that this sounds pretty okay? You know, that kind of thing. So it actually does have a little bit of audience participation with what we actually put out and what we're seeing. So yeah, that's basically the writing process. It's super simple. It's just about time. I like to spend a lot of time with the songs that I write.
I like how you said it's based on a turning point. I personally feel like when an artist releases music, it becomes timeless in a sense, because what you went through in that moment, somebody else can be experiencing as they're listening to the song.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, what is your favorite part of a song that you've written?
Obviously, everyone can answer this one differently. I think that the favorite part of a song I've written is probably off of I don't know. It's kind of a tie, but I'll say for now I'll say "Endless Daydream," which is the title track, the first track off of the EP that we put out last year. Now time is eluding me because of quarantine. That song I wrote very much focused, and I approached the lyrics last, which is something that I don't usually do. But with that song, I wanted to create. I knew it was going to be some form of introduction slash interlude track, so I just wanted to be very direct with how I portrayed the lyrics, and I love the opening two lines, which is "Hello, old friend, we meet again. I can change my outer shell a lot, but it won't cover who I am," and it's very much a dialogue with myself, and I think that's a kind of a theme that I have with a lot of the music that I write lyrically. Is just it's basically music is a very much of a form of therapy for me. So actually talking to myself and making the lyrics sung out, and when I hear that back, it is very therapeutic. And when I said catharsis before it, that's truly kind of how that relates. So yeah, I'd say that very opening part of that first song.
I'll say the ending of Gravity. I think that when we first came up with that, it was powerful. You know, we knew it was gonna have to be somewhere, and it was gonna have to be like Gravity is pretty much always ended or been like the penultimate song on our set list for that reason, because of its like finality, if that's a word, like as in like its ability to be a good ending.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of a summation of hard work in a sense, and like in creativity and a bunch of minds just coming together and creating something that we could also have everybody express. That's like our biggest crowd engagement song, I would say. And we have this whole section when we're playing this live, and we have everybody, like, we kind of teach them real quick how it goes, and we incorporate it into the song as it goes, and it goes around a few times before it actually ends, and everyone seems to love it. It's a cool way to share the love of music with people that are looking for something to attach to.
For me, I'm not the recording drummer, so I could just say my favorite part. I would agree with Gravity as well, as far as the ending, because it's almost like you don't gotta tell the crowd to sing along, but it's like they just want to sing along. So it's just everyone's on one accord, and I feel like that's one of the special moments in music when you could get dozens of people in one room just on the same level. So I would agree with that.
So, what was your favorite venue that you've performed in?
I think we can
Pretty
all
sure the answer is the same for all of us.
Yeah, we did a show literally a couple days before the quarantine happened. That was also Kristian's first show playing with us, and it was just a massive thing. So we played Knitting Factory. We were opening for Deal Casino and The Orphan the Poet. And that show was just so much fun. It's the first time I've played a show where I felt like I was really carried by the audience, and I don't mean literally, although that would have been cool. It was really the audience was so energetic and so into what we were doing, and we really weren't. We didn't do anything super crazy. Like we weren't. There was no pyrotechnics or crazy, neon anything. But it was just pure music, and I think that's what made it so much fun. When we walked up that stage, it was just electric, and that was definitely, I think, by far our best work. And I'm hoping that when quarantine ends, we can have shows just like that and match that energy. I don't know if you guys have anything to input about that night.
I could say it just felt good being on stage with you guys. To be honest, like even going back to like the rehearsals, almost felt the same. It just felt like, I don't know, like secure. I was a little nervous, but at the same time, like it's like I'm just hanging out with my friends. Like we're just playing some music, just enjoying the night. Got to meet cool people. It was just, it was just a really good vibe.
I agree.
I mean, I could say more, but I mean, I signed an autograph. Someone came up to me and asked me for my crappy handwriting of my own name, and I'm a 21-year-old kid that's not Justin Bieber, and someone asked me to sign something that belongs to them in a permanent marker. Like, that has never happened before. This is an unprecedented event in my life. I mean, I think that, but like, not making it personal, of course I'm just screwing around, but I mean, that was cool. But, like that goes like that kind of feeling of like, wow, what the hell? Like that kind of goes with what we were all feeling, like the energy, like it was, like you said, it was electric. It was awesome. Like someone has my name. Like I don't even know who they are.
What is your opinion of releasing an artist's unreleased music after they've passed away? Should it be released or should it not?
I would say depending on their household, like say if the artist, I mean, we're young, but say if the artist had like a wife or something, or if it was a female, if they had their husband, maybe ask their spouse before. But if they don't have a spouse who can't really okay it, then I would think probably keep it private, unless it's just a fun song. But if it seems like it's something, artists, they express themselves in whatever moment. So maybe it may be music they never ever meant to get out. It was just their way of expressing. So if it goes a little too deep, then I think it would be best to keep their privacy.
I wonder if there's some sort of like document or some sort of like set of rules. Like let's say like you're an organ donor, and like after you die, like they're gonna like you've already made the decision to say that I will give my organs to someone that needs them. In a very loose analogy, tying this to this question, I don't know, man. I'm really bad with analogies, but but like do you see what I'm saying though? Like I wonder if like there's some sort of way that you could say like maybe if they've ever said to like Kristian was saying, like their significant other or like a close friend or like a brother or something, a sister, yeah, you know what, like I'm working on this, like I know I'm not really gonna make it much longer if I don't like have him or her finish this song in my stead and let the world hear it because it was a message that I wanted to get out. Like I feel like if that was the case, then yeah, but if not, then it's a blurry line, man. I think I'm with Kristian. I would say probably leave it be if there was no telling that was something that they wanted the world to hear or wasn't ready.
Yeah, I think it's sad. It's sad that we have a lot of this happening, especially with like rappers specifically. This happens a lot, where rappers overdose or they die, or even something more on the tragic, the unexpected happens. My opinion is really like very strange about this. I would say that if the songs are done and they were always expecting, so if they were in the studio and they were really expecting to release this music, no matter what kind of group it was, I'd say absolutely, like just try to finish that work as much as possible, because clearly they were working towards this project that they were passionate about. And obviously, if they had said anything prior about maybe this song is more personal, maybe that's a call for, as Kristian said, call for the family kind of thing. But in terms of like the one that comes to mind all the time is XXXTentacion, right? The rapper that died. I think he was 20. they still to this day put out music from him, but that's because they have like a sample of something he did in a random demo, like really on the side. And I struggle to say that that's like actually upholding the vision of the artist. And again, regardless of who, if you like their music or who you think they are or whatever, I think that there is a certain point of, okay, this was the last project they were working on, and that's, you know, we'll finish that and get that done, but then everything else is really like grasping at straws to try to keep this legacy alive. And I think the legacy is the music that they left, right? It's not just trying to continue that. And if you're trying to go for money, it would be stringing out the money, but it's not even about that for me. It's more about keeping what they put out and really that body of work as legitimate as possible. So it's a hard, yeah, you're right. It is a blurry line. It's a hard question. That I don't know. I would hope it doesn't happen to people as often as it does, but it's just one of those things, right?
So I'll give backstory as to why we asked this question. Grace was listening to the Little Peep songs that were released I think it was last year, and how she said they sounded like unfinished bedroom demos. And then Mac Miller's Circles came out, and how that had consent from his family, and the producer he was working on the album with finished the album. And then there's another example I get quite frequently of Prince's vault of songs. So the reason we ask this question, actually what John was talking about with artist wills and negotiating this into a contract. Because every artist has a different opinion as to what should happen with their music, and it should ultimately be up to them in the end what they think. So we try to start a conversation about it, since we have unfortunately noticed that this is happening more frequently in the industry.
Sure, absolutely.
So I was onto something.
How did you guys pick your respective instruments?
Just out of this is what's being played. I mean, I've been in bands for about 6 or 7 years, in and out of different groups, and the first group I was ever in, I just sang. And I like that. I like being the energy. I like having the freedom to just kind of move around. But that band also at maximum had 6 people. So I never had to feel burdened by having, well, not burdened, but I never had that need to actually play an instrument because everyone else was doing one. When John and I met, it became very apparent that I needed to not only sing, but right before we had started Slumber, there was a period where I was solo for a little while, actually playing some of the songs that we would then go on to release in Slumber. So I had grown to slowly play more and more guitar. So by the point where we had started writing music through the band, it was becoming a little bit more obvious that I would have to play guitar, and then obviously singing was kind of a no-brainer. So I try to bring in as many of the instruments that I play as possible, but yeah, guitar, that's kind of how I landed on that guitar.
So I didn't pick the bass. My 6th grade band teacher did. So I was in elementary school. I was like one of the only kids in my friend group in 4th and 5th grade that didn't get picked to go into band. It was just like a lottery, because like, how do you judge someone's talent when they're like 10? So I was so pissed that I wasn't in band like all my friends, that when it came time for middle school, you selected what you wanted to do. I put band down as my choice. But then I'm like, wait, no, it's 3 years. I don't want to do that, but it was too late. So I'm in band. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And then I saw it in the corner of the room. It was a guitar. It was a guitar, which was a bass, but it was a guitar. And I was like, if I could play this guitar, I will be cool. And if I am cool, then I will enjoy band. So the band teacher actually has been there for like 30 years at the time, and he had actually taught my dad when my dad went to the same middle school. So I guess it was like a lottery again to pick your instrument this time. So like there was only one bass, guitar. There was only one, and if you didn't get it, you would get your second choice, which mine was trumpet actually. So luckily he picked me for the bass. I learned it was not a guitar. I was a little disappointed, but ever since then, I was the one kid that plays bass because like who plays bass, you know? like, like it's not every day that you see someone that says, "Oh yeah, I play the bass." Like it's like, yeah, I play guitar. I also play guitar, but like I play the bass. Like that's my thing. So it was picked for me by a 55-year-old man.
For me, drums kind of always been around. Being in church, like say when they would cut off all the electricity, as far as they'll turn the bass amps off or the organ off. Drums is over there. It's always there. You don't need to plug it in. So I just hop on. My feet dangling, can't reach the kick pedal or the hi hat, but just banging away. So I also have my little share of run around to. My family is also musicians, so it's been around. So I would like metal on guitar and stuff, but drums always seem to stick with me. So I started taking piano lessons in ninth grade, and I was learning my scales, my major and minor scales on the black and white keys. So I was really getting into it. And then my brother was the church drummer at the time. Then he started getting on the road and touring and stuff. So it was kind of like, all right, got to play drums now. And I was doing okay, but I wanted to get better. So as I started practicing, I was like, oh, all right, I'm still gonna really love this thing. So I just stuck with it. Been playing since.
I like to say, this is going to sound super philosophical, the instrument picks the person doesn't pick the instrument. And I want a side note for a second. They didn't make you take that stupid clapping test in 4th grade?
No, they didn't. They literally said, like, they handed out sheets and said, why would you, like, what do you want to do? And you know, actually, in 4th grade, the instrument that I said I wanted to play was, and I quote, this is not a joke, I wanted to play the clarinet. Why? Because I wanted to be like Squidward. Can you see why I was not picked?
They made us do the clapping test to test if you had any rhythmical ability, and then they would play like certain they would play certain things.
The
and
pitches,
then
right?
Yeah, and then you had to write down what pitch, if it was high, low, or middle.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So they gave you an aptitude test.
Yeah, basically, to see if you were like inept or not.
My elementary school was relatively small, I would say. Also, they didn't really have. I don't think they had faith that any of the kids would really even stick with the instruments. So I had a similar thing that John had, where you just kind of fill out a sheet. I got my last choice. I don't think I picked the instrument at all. Like it wasn't even on my mind. I played French horn throughout high school and throughout elementary and high school. And yeah, no one picks the French horn. It's not a thing that anyone does. But yeah, I play French horn.
Nick, though, if I had to say, if I just looked at you like, and I said, what instrument did he play? I would say French horn. You have the mannerisms of a French horn player.
Yeah, kind of general cynicism is the primary trait of playing a French horn.
So I used to play trumpet, and it was the same type of thing. They just were kind of like, here you go, this one's yours. Like, take this. And I was like, oh, okay. So I always appreciate talking to musicians because I, unfortunately, don't play my instrument anymore. And it's nice to talk to people and who appreciate the art for what it is and are willing to try different things and create their own art. So my next question for you is, what is your opinion of streaming services like Spotify?
I'm going to be the negative one, so guys, take it away.
Well, because I don't know much about it, I think it's cool. I pay $5. I get pretty much every song that comes out in decent quality, and I get Hulu. So that's really all I have to say about it.
I don't know how artists really get paid for it, so that's a little, that's not always good because they may not get appreciated. And I know for musicians, a lot of money is really made during shows and things like that. But I feel like whether you like it or not, it's just technology moves. So it's either you're gonna get with it or you're gonna get left behind. So I feel like it's here to stay no matter what.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that for sure. Yeah, no, the movement is happening, right? The movement to everything on technology. No unreliance on it is ignorance, basically. Right? That's kind of how it is. Yeah, I think I'm a person that still buys music, whether it's digitally or physically. I try to support the artist as much as possible. I think there's a certain element of not ownership, but you feel more attached to something when you buy it, especially, and as John mentioned before, I'm a very big of an album person. So I really feel like I will appreciate the album more if it's something that's truly in my collection. I'm owning it, I'm listening to it. Um, so yeah, there's definitely an element of that. I also, with what Kristian was saying about artists getting paid, we're lucky right now because we're not, this is still something it's relatively startup, right? This band is not trying to make massive waves right now. Like, that's not our primary, none of us is our primary thing yet. But it's definitely a problem, right? That Spotify, you get these massive numbers, and even the bigger artists don't really get a huge check from stuff like that. I honestly don't even know how that really works, and the fact that it's so obscured and that we don't know is part of the problem. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's what I do like about it, to speak on the positive side, is I've found so much more music than I ever would if I was to walk into, what would be the modern day equivalent of a record shop, um, to find music. Like, I would not be finding the stuff that I find, and I listen to such a broad variety of music because we can stream, and because I can send my friend a song and then he can send me 5 back, right? Like, there's so many applications for that kind of thing. And that's what I truly appreciate. And I've been able to connect and talk to a bunch of different bands from all over the country and all over the world because of that. And I think that's the most positive thing. And if that's what outweighs everything else, that network and the community of music, then I'll speak more positively of it as time goes on.
I personally think, as a fan, I shouldn't be seeing a band's monthly listener count. That should be kept for the band and for the management team and the business side. I think it shapes the perception of how people look at artists and how bills are created, and has a longer effect than people originally thought. So those are just my 2 cents.
You're right. I actually never thought about that, but you're totally right.
I think. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Kristian.
No, I was saying I think it also helps lower attention spans because also as like streaming and everything came out, I feel like the music also got like smaller as far as how much time it lasts. And also a lot of times you can't judge an album just off of one listen because it's almost like a movie, like how we were saying in the beginning, just without the scenes and everything. But sometimes you may not like a movie or an album from that first time you see it, but as you keep listening and listening, you're like, oh, I never noticed that. I like that. But with all these different albums, you're like, all right, next. And you just go to a whole another artist and everything instead of just really sitting with your library. So that just popped off after hearing everybody else speak.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, actually, if they made a streaming service that forced you to listen to the entirety of what you clicked on.
Yeah, it's one long 40-minute track rather than divided. That's actually interesting, John. You might have your $1 million idea.
So this leads to my next question. Y'all are from New York, right?
That's correct.
Fantastic.
Born and raised.
How has growing up in New York influenced your music taste and the songs that you release, if at all?
I'll let you guys go first. Kristian, you want to go?
I can speak as far as it's influenced my taste. I'll say how New York almost influences everything, just being a big melting pot. So even when you're walking through the city, like say the Village, if you walk into a club like Cafe Wa or the Groove, on different nights you see different type of music, or even the same artist, they'll just play a whole bunch of different genres. And even more, a lot of artists from different types of genres come out of New York as well. So it just, it makes me just have that chance to listen to a lot of music, not just get stuck in to one thing.
So, like, not talking about like the city as a whole, just my personal experience is like, I don't know, I gotta say I was pretty steadfast in like listening to new genres of music for a long time. I had a really, really crappy value that would say if there's no instruments, it's not music, and I cringe every time I say I'm doing it right now. But like, and it took until like late high school, college to realize that wasn't true. But going back to like when I was younger, I listened to the stuff that my dad listened to. My dad, well, here's a little fun fact, another fun fact about me. There's a lot of fun facts today. When I was like 1 or 2, like years old, I would cry until my dad put on "Pour Some Sugar on Me" by Def Leppard, and I would not relax until that song was on. I love that song still to this day. But like, like I was so set in my ways of listening to like, like classic rock that I didn't want to hear it about anything else. My friends made fun of me as like everyone was moving through like rap. Rap was the cool thing when I was at least in my like my school when I was younger. And I'm like, I don't want to listen to it. No. And then even like literally before, like what 20 minutes ago, I mentioned that I finally listened to the Marshall Mathers LP. It's great. But but like I mean, I'm not a big rap guy, but like so like that's the one thing I listen to. So like don't think I'm a rap guy, but like what's it called? It was just so it's weird to me that I was so even though it's New York, I was so closed-minded as a person. Like I just didn't want to change until college. And only now that I would say I go to Brooklyn College. It's like Brooklyn College is really that melting pot that Chris is talking about for me. So like like all my like middle school, elementary school, high school wasn't really that. It didn't really expose me to that much. College, that's where everything started. It's almost like culture shock. It's like wait, this is what the world is doing. Why am I in the '80s still? And like only in the '80s. Like it's not bad to be in the '80s. The '80s got some good music, but like you got to live now. And you got to understand that there are more years and more genres besides what was in that one time frame. And now that I've broken free from that, I could definitely agree with what Chris is saying. It is a melting pot, and everywhere you go, you hear something different.
Yeah, New York for me is interesting because I grew up on Long Island. So that's such a if you know anything about Long Island's music scene, it's very strange. It's not very congruent the whole way through, and it's just kind of a mess generally. And it's primarily pop punk stuff. That's like the majority of the things that actually make it out of Long Island, I'd say. Growing up, as I said, I was in a lot of bands growing up, and I think we always were not that. We always stayed a little bit away from it, and mostly because I have this inherent thing of like, okay, be different, be something else. I don't want to be what I'm hearing, right? And then just as I met a bunch of people, I just just followed a bunch of new bands. It grew up to this place where New York is just kind of the center where all of these different artists that don't even necessarily live here come and just share their music, share their experience. And I always see that these artists really portray who they are in New York. I think it's almost like a rite of passage. You're playing in New York. It's like, whoa, okay. Even people who live here, it's a certain element of this is a place where I can share what specifically I like doing and what makes me unique. And that goes even past music to poetry, art, film, all that stuff. But I think in terms of shaping my own music taste and what I play and what I like to listen to, because I don't necessarily always play what I like listening to in the reverse, I wanted to match that diversity in genre and sound with my own tastes, and that's why I look up to artists who can be versatile and can really switch. One of my favorites right now is Unknown Mortal Orchestra. They do such a great job of just constantly doing something different, and his last two albums I look up to dearly, just because I think that's the greatest encapsulation of what New York and what I love the sound to be going forward into the future.
I think New York is kind of, in my opinion, like a stopover town most of the time. Like, not a lot currently has really flourished and become super popular from being a New York based, because there's so many different influences here. And
right.
I should probably mention I'm from Staten Island.
Same.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
And I still don't know what the scene is here. I still don't think it exists. It's terrible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, like, hearing more about, I've spoken to a few bands from the Long Island scene, and just, like, in other areas in general, it's so fascinating to me that everything is so different. Like, we don't really have, like, a huge cultural, like, one defining genre here. And I think it's great because anyone can do anything and they're not held to one certain thing. But at the same time, it makes it super difficult for like this local culture to exist.
For sure. I think that comes down to venues too. I think like
Yeah.
what venues and where they are truly matters. Just who are they playing to? What are the communities that these venues are in? I think Long Island just has a lot of venues that are decorated and are dressed to be these kind of grungy or pop punk type venues, and that's what comes out of it because of it. Just the history, obviously, too. Just with Taking Back Sunday coming out of Long Island and such. But yeah, it matters where it is, right? It matters who's playing. Like we've tried to play Staten Island, and there isn't a bunch of like major tentpole venues, and that matters, and that's why I think that Staten Island should invest in like let's just get not a stadium, just like let's do a music hall and let's see what happens. I think that would be super beneficial to that borough.
Yeah, I agree. Sadly, we don't have one. Even music someone listens to when they're growing up. Like, I think there's been this huge pop punk revival because people listened to Green Day when they grew up. Like, bands like that kind of shaped their taste. So I think that also plays a factor in what's being released. And I think that's also why New York has this huge diverse scene.
Sure.
My next question is, y'all are hypothetically traveling together to a concert to perform. What are 3 songs that must be in the playlist?
Thinking something like real funky, like James Brown or the song "Chicken Grease" by D'Angelo, like something real like your blood flowing, so it's ready.
I'm gonna say "Basket Case" by Green Day. Something that we could all sing, whether it be good or bad. Like the quality of singing. Fun, upbeat, gets you in the mood to start like kind of jamming. It's not my favorite song, but definitely should be on the playlist.
Sure. I'm gonna say for similar reasons. I Was Just a Kid by Nothing But Thieves. That song is just constant energy, and considering it's the first track of that album, it's like, whoa, what a wake up call. Yeah, that song is like hype song 101.
Now, my last question for you is, what are your goals for 2020? You can do the year or the decade.
Oh. Damn.
Decade scares me. Oh my god. 10 years.
Well, I will say to start off that, like, I think all of us had, and this is, I mean, by all of us, I mean the world, had very different plans for what 2020 was going to look like, right? My 2020 was actually starting off really great. As I mentioned, we had a really great show in March, and we were just going to continue that momentum. Unfortunately, that momentum just kind of plummeted after everything happened, and some things have benefited from that as we've seen recently. But yeah, I think I just want to write more, right? Like I just want to see a little bit more of the country and just play a little bit more, just constantly get better. And I think that's just part of just constantly working at it. So we're gonna all get together soon and really just get back into it, really swing back into the music.
For me, I would say, like I said, I'm newest member to the band, so I just look forward to just getting together with these guys and just we all, as far as what we do outside of music, is all different. So it's like when we bring all that together between the conversations and playing music, is just like it takes me into another world. So I just look to just really enjoy music, not look at it so much as a job or like something we have to do, but just to do it because we want to. So yeah, creating music.
Yeah, going off of what Chris was saying, it's real cool. We get to just play. It's as simple as that, but it's such a complex thing because you just can't describe. There is nothing in the world like making music, whether that's with an orchestra or a concert band or like a band like us. Like there's nothing in the world like it. I mean, I would love to do more for 2020. I mean, personally, I want to make some more money. I'm gonna like, get some new stuff, make myself better, eat healthy, work out. But as far as the band goes, like I said, there's nothing like making music, and just being with the two of them and our manager too. She's pretty chill. It's just it's surreal. But time flies. Time flies when you have something in your hand that makes sound.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for speaking with me. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for taking
No
time out of
problem.
your days to talk to me.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your
Thank-
days.
Too.
You too.
Have a good one. Stay safe.
You too.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Later.